G'day hobbyists, just making a quick video about painting faces today. And this is because I posted some photos of models I recently painted and there was an overwhelmingly positive response, so I figured I'd chat about how I got those faces painted and how you can achieve those results using some pretty simple techniques that you just pick up by experience. I'm also thinking of changing the name of this channel, something like Over Coffee Hobby, or Hobby Over Coffee, something like that. Probably because I'm a coffee junkie and I make these videos to be short, sort of concept discussing videos and not really show you exactly what to do, but sort of give you an idea and let you practice it yourself. Because as you're saying, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, but I do and I understand. So you've got to do it yourself and practice any concept I mention so that you get a hang of it and try and understand what I'm trying to teach you. So, these are the models that got a very positive response. These are the sportscasters for Blood Bowl from Willy Miniatures. This is Jim the Ogre. I haven't done freehand design on his shirt because I'm probably going to do that later. And this is Bob the Vampire. Oh, it's a bit hard to see his sort of head a bit there. Put some behind him to get a good look at it. But I'll be putting up really good pictures of these as well to go with this video. Now, you might be wondering how I painted him, how I got these results on his face, the stubble and teeth and such. Well, it's fairly simple. Blending, that's what I did to paint these guys. So, start with a black base coat on these guys, and then I pretty much went brown all over for the cloak, the base, the gloves, shoes and boots. Then Bugman's Glow over that. Oop. Then I washed Flesh Wash over that. And then for the lower jaw at this point I put a dark grey with a bit of water to thin it down over that lower jaw area and try to mimic real sort of facial hair patterns. Then highlight the upper part with a thinned down cadmium flesh tone. This is important. Using this sort of thinner paint, you can sort of put the paint over the sort of flesh in such a way that it's not like it's thinned down and you can sort of see the previous layer below it. So rather than getting one color to the next transition, you sort of get the base, then it's sort of half and half, and then a bit stronger, and you can sort of just build up thin layers to get stronger transition. And so what I'd do, I'd go over sort of most of it with that thin paint, and then I'd come back over it, and with the same thin paint, just pick out finer edges and build it up like that. And along the hairline for the jaw, I'd sort of brush up and down along it to try and blend the hair and skin together a bit better. So that was the regular skin. For the jaw, with the hair, I mixed these two, and put that sort of highlight along. Now I sort of favoured the grey in that mix to sort of give it a sort of fleshy grey look. I left the edges of the lips skin colour, and so they got the regular sort of highlight. And then I went with sort of Dawnstone, mixed with a bit of Screaming Skull, and highlighted the lower jaw again. And I mixed Screaming Skull and cadmium flesh tone for the skin's next highlight. And again, watered down paint, build it up. Then pure Screaming Skull, fairly watered down, built it up to the extremes and put it on the stubble and the skin. So that final highlight with the thinned down Screaming Skull sort of ties it together a bit more with the watered down Screaming Skull being put on both parts. Now, the mouth and teeth were fairly easy. I just watered down some corn red, put it in the mouth there, and then I picked out the teeth with XV88, if you can see. The corn red for the gums and stuff, XV88 to base the teeth. Then Talon Sand to pick out the teeth, and then Screaming Skull to pick out the teeth. And it gave me a bit of a yellowish colour for Jim's teeth, which is sort of what I wanted. Now you might be thinking, oh, that mouth looks nice and shiny. I put gloss varnish in the mouth after I matte varnished the whole model, because you got all this saliva in your mouth, so your mouth should be sort of stick out a bit and look wet. And the eyes also got a little bit of gloss varnish. Not sure if you can really tell in this, but the way I do eyes is quite simply black, and then pick out the sides with the white to give you this pupil look. And the hardest part is just keeping the pupils the same size and facing towards the same focus point. So if you have one pupil, like you're sort of looking to that way, you sort of got to remember where to keep your sort of pupils looking. I mean, so like left, right, up, down, far away, wide-eyed, squinty-eyed. So trying to keep that in mind when you're painting the eyes is just something you got to do, and it takes practice. But it's not impossible. You just got to paint a lot of eyes, and you'll get there. Now, for the vampire, Bob, his skin is pale and deathly white. Now, I've found a really good technique for this that I've used on a lot of zombies, but he had to just go even whiter. So, whereas zombies, which I normally put a bit of red or bloodish sort of tinge to them, I usually wash their skin red. I base with Racar flesh, and with the zombies probably get red or flesh wash on top of that, so there still looks like there's a bit of colour in the deeper sort of drained parts, deeper parts of their face and folds of flesh. But he didn't get that. He got black wash, so just completely dry, bloodless looking skin. Then I mixed white into Racar, so a sort of half and half mix to do the next layer, and then pure white. And again, it was just thinned down paint and carefully picking out the sort of the layers and the folds and bits of his flesh. And if you can sort of see on his forehead there, you can see some sort of frown lines. And that's something you can do with painting. If you leave your paint a little bit sort of thicker, or even with thin paint, but just do it multiple times, you can use your brush streaks to give a certain texture to otherwise flat areas, whether it's wood grain or the sort of the folds in your forehead or the creases and such. So just go over it. Just go over it with your brush a few times, sort of horizontally, or if you're more steady hand, you can sort of try and get the curves in, or you can do the vertical lines, and you can sort of create the effect of creases on fairly flat foreheads. Now with Jim here, it was kind of like cheating. He's got a very big head. So it's easy to get good results on a larger head, whereas Bob was much harder. So that's some of the stuff I'll talk about. Blending, thin your paints. You can use multiple layers to build up to your sort of raise points, the streaks to give you texture, and just chat a little bit about what I'm up to and show off some painting techniques. Hope you found this helpful.
Okay, so here are the high quality photos of the miniatures I painted. I realized after finishing the video that the ogre is called Bob and the vampire is called Jim. Sorry about that. So here you can see in better detail the models and such and how I painted them. Now these photos were taken before I varnished them and after I'd finished the paint job, so they haven't had the gloss varnish yet, I haven't finished up the base, I haven't put grass on the bases yet. Now, the way I painted that cloak was just Rhinox hide, then straight Mournfang brown, then Mournfang mixed with Ungor flesh, and then a bit of pure Ungor flesh. And that was, again, with blending and a bit of brush strokes to add texture to the cloaks. I think it's kind of funny how Jim and Bob have the same sort of cloak. Maybe they're like some sort of Nuffle standard sportscaster cloaks. And yeah, I also took a bit of liberty with the paint jobs compared to Willy Miniatures. Made a few changes that you might notice. And hope you liked how the video went. Thanks.